My name's Colin, welcome to 4 Ounce Insight. Grasso, Shevchenko 2. Why, Mike Bell, have you now dominated the narrative of this fight and this card? Right, before we get to that 10-8, I did make a couple of predictions in my last video about how I thought this card might go. A bit of a mixed bag. I don't know what Terence Mitchell was thinking, if I'm honest. Like, this is a big card. He's fighting the young Mexican, and he comes out and just starts swinging, like, with reckless abandonment. Like, Terence, like, I hate to break it to you, mate. You're 33 years old, and you've lost your last two by TKO or KO in the first round. This is a big opportunity just to stay relaxed, use a bit of striking, see if you can, get under the young man's skin, frustrate him. Instead, you got sat down and, yeah, you might not be in the UFC too much longer. I don't know how many opportunities they're going to give you. You might only have a fight left. Let's hope you can turn it around. Let's hope you can find it. But I'm not sure if we'll see him, especially on the main event, anytime soon. And then Kevin Holland breaks my goddamn heart. Like, Jack Maddalena was going to be a difficult fight. In my video, I said he was if you're going to put money down, he's probably the smart choice. I went with my heart because I think Kevin Holland is a very talented fighter. But he just doesn't seem to be able to, in some fights, just get out of second gear. He seems so intent on just landing an elbow in a clinch. Like he got stung with a few calf kicks. I get it right off the bat. But I feel like he could do so much more. I feel like he's got so much talent. And he kind of just wastes it. He's quickly becoming Cowboy Cerrone. He's becoming the company man who'll fight on short notice and fight anyone. And his record is getting saltier and saltier and saltier. Like, he's not making a run for anything. Yeah, he'll get paid. That's for damn sure. But I think he's wasting his talent. I don't know what he needs. Might need a new camp. I don't know. But something's missing because he's got all the attributes. He's got the physique. Like, he should just be cleaning up. But he's not. Yeah, he goes on a little run, then gets defeated a few times, and he'll go on a little run. And yeah, frustrating. Really, really frustrating. And then we get to the main event, the war. The war. It was fantastic. I loved that fight, and it doesn't matter how you scored it or who you thought won. At the end of that fight, I did not have a Scooby-Doo who had won that fight. I was just sitting there like, whew. And it, like I said, if it had gone either way, I just wouldn't have been upset. It would have made sense to me. Grasso winning, yeah. Shevchenko winning, yeah. And then you look at the scorecard and go, 10-8. 10-8. It's normally the other way around. Normally we see a fighter take such a beating, and then we see the scorecard and go, well, if that's not a 10-8, I don't know what is. It's insane. So there's really only two options in my mind. You're either corrupt or you're incompetent. And I think you made it up. I think you looked at that score sheet. I think you got to the end of it and was like, oh my God, I'm about to give this fight to Shevchenko. And that's not a good idea. Now, clearly, well, he shouldn't know what the other judges are scoring the fight as. So maybe he thought that, I don't know. I don't know what he thought. Maybe he thought they were going to give it to Grasso, so he'll just level the score out and get away with it. But effectively, had he scored it correctly, just the last round, I'm not talking about everything else because you can take your own calls on that. But had he scored that last round correctly, Shevchenko would have the belt wrapped round her waist right now. The financial impact has hit Shevchenko. the victory in some way has been robbed from Grasso as well. Because she very much celebrated it like it was a victory. And clearly it was a draw. I think she just heard "and still" and assumed she'd won the fight. Like, I don't know what they can hear and how well they can hear when they're standing there. You know, they're full of adrenaline. She's just waiting for "and still." But now that's the question everyone's asking. Do you think it was a 10-8? It's not whether you thought she won or lost the fight, because had that round been scored, Shevchenko would have been the world champ again. There's no doubt about it. And instead of celebrating the fight, we're talking about this guy. Who wants to know his name? It's like refs, okay? I get nervous when certain refs enter into certain fights. I'm not a huge fan of Herb Dean. I don't think he's the gold standard of refereeing. And he has a tendency either to rush in and stop fights early, or let the fighter take a beating, or crash into fighters while he's moving around and they stop. Like, he has his ways. He's been better of late, so... But it's not about the ref or the judges. It's about the fighters, and when the ref or the judges dominate it, it's ruined it. Everyone's talking about that. That's what all the questions are about. We should be celebrating the fights, especially female fighters. What other sport do you know where female fighters get that level draw? I don't mean, sorry, female athletes. Not female fighters, female athletes. In mixed martial arts, they're the same draw as the men. Now, yes, there are different male fighters that will hit different pay-per-view numbers and so on and so forth, but you can't tell me that this fight wasn't well attended to and well purchased. They made plenty of cash. I mean, look what Ronda Rousey done. Look, like the Lioness. There aren't many sports out there where the females are held in such regard and no one thinks about it. If the card is made of male and female fighters, no one cares. So when we get a glorious fight like this, we're not celebrating all of that. We're talking about some guy who I believed rigged his score at the end. Why else would you do it? If you're going to score any round in there 10-8, that's when Shevchenko got knocked so hard she spun across the octagon and then took a ton of punches. No, that one. No, the fifth. Like, dude... It's so disappointing because there was so much to talk about, and the implications had Shevchenko got the belt, would Grasso get the immediate rematch because it was such a close fight. You know, now what's Shevchenko going to do? Is she going to move up? Does Grasso want to fight her again? Like, everyone's calling for a fight. I mean, I would watch that fight again and again and again. I think it was great. But it's incomplete, and it didn't need to be. If you're incompetent, then you shouldn't be ringside. And if you're corrupt, you shouldn't be ringside. And if you lost your bottle at the last minute, you shouldn't be ringside. Now, I know there's probably a few people in America, I'm sure the term bottle, do you use bottle? It basically means you got scared at the last second. Like, you go bungee jumping, you strap yourself in, you look over the edge and go, yeah, it's not for me. That's losing your bottle. And I think that's what happened. I was like, I genuinely think he thought this wouldn't be a good move to score the fight in this way, for whatever reason. And Shevchenko hinted at it in the octagon, saying, you know, maybe if it wasn't Mexican Independence Day, and I don't think you should judge fighters when they say that stuff. You know, she had just taken punches to the head. Her adrenaline was through the roof. And there was not 1 ounce either fighter could have given more. They absolutely left it out there. And whose name's going to be in everything? Yep, that guy. I think the judges need to come out and talk. They definitely need to come out and say what it is that they saw or heard. Now, I saw a podcast a long time ago, or listened to a podcast a long time ago. I believe it was Mark Goddard, talking to he was explaining a situation where he was talking to a ref and asked him why he scored it a particular way. And he said that an elbow had connected with someone's skull and it sounded like a coconut cracking. And because he heard that noise, he gave it that much weight. So you go, like, I could kind of understand that. If you heard a shot that was so impactful, that you felt that in some way changed the course of the fight, or just that it was a devastating blow, okay, but let's hear it, because none of us saw it. And we don't know what you saw. And the other two judges didn't see what you saw. So someone needs to come out and explain it to us and explain it to these fighters, because they're the ones that are losing out. You know, Grasso feels like she's won. It was a draw. No one was celebrating when Woodley and Wonderboy drew. So I think Grasso thought she got the victory in that moment. Like I said, afterwards. But she's having to defend something that she can't defend, which is why it is that one judge saw it 10-8. And Shevchenko can't help but feel robbed, because that's not a 10-8. It's really frustrating when it's like this, because what I should have been doing is a video and celebrating this fight, and I'm not. I'm moaning about some guy I don't even know. And unfortunately, that's where we're at. And I think we need to call it out, and we can't allow this to go the way of boxing, where we know that these scorecards are a little bit, how can I put, creatively scored to suit certain fighters. We don't want that in this sport. And when has transparency been bad? Just come out and say it. And I say this about the refs as well. If you miss something, come out and say it. I didn't see the eye poke. I didn't see the groin strike. Don't come out and lie and say, well, you know, I saw this. You know, Herb's great at this. I have got an issue with Herb. But he's great at coming up with a good sounding excuse for why something did or didn't happen. And then other refs would just say, look, I missed it. I'm sorry, I'm human. And I think that's where we need to be. We would understand it as fans. And I'm sure the fighters would as well. But again, one judge ruins it all. So what next for these two fighters? I have no idea, and I don't think they know. An immediate rematch. Shevchenko's got to heal up. I think she broke her thumb. You know, she's 35. I don't know how many fights she's got left. She's an incredibly, you know, fit, well-trained athlete, but every fighter has a shelf life. She took some big shots. You know, she was talking about going up a weight. Like, it's just changed the narrative. If she'd have lost, we would have known what was next. And Grasso now, who does she defend against? Does she have to go through that gauntlet again? Is the division being held up? Why? I remember it was another Mexican fight, Diego Sanchez versus Ross Pearson. And I remember the scorecard after that, and that was a shocker. And one judge had given all 3 rounds to Diego Sanchez, and Ross Pearson had lit him up every round. And I think it was Brian Stan that said, like, shame on you. Like, how could you have scored it like that? I understand they're human. I understand they make mistakes. And I also understand sometimes they're a little bit biased, whether they realise it or not. But that very much looked like, to me, that someone was doing their maths, or math, however you want to say it, and decided, if I just drop a point here, it's a draw on my card, and I'm a little bit safe, because this might have been too tight to call, and I want X fighter to win. And it can't have been Shevchenko, because had he scored it correctly, she would have been the winner on his scorecard. Don't know how the UFC are going to deal with this one. I'm devastated we're not talking about anything else other than that. And all the fighters on the card have lost out. All of them have lost out, because this will dominate headlines now. And with a heavy heart, that's my 4-ounce insight. Please hit the subscribe, like button, bell notifications, all of that other fun stuff. And until next time, take care.